In this video, we're going to talk about entering rounds into GolfStatLab. So we'll start at the round section, and if you want to add a round, simply click the Add a Round button. And if you want to view a round or edit a round that you've already entered into the system, you can find it in the list here by date and golf course name, and then select View Round. We're going to go to Add a Round, and here it's going to ask us for some pretty general information about the round, like where was it, what time did you play it, things like that. So we'll start in the United States. I'll come down to the state that I am currently in, which is New Mexico, and we'll pick the Los Altos Golf Course in Albuquerque. That's fine. If there is a course that you played that is not in the system, you can add it just by clicking Add a Course, and likewise, if there's a tee location that you played that isn't in our list, you can also add that pretty easily as well. Now, when you change the country or the state, it'll update the golf course list to the ones that we have inside of that state. And you'll also notice that these are sorted, the golf courses are sorted by city and then by the name. So they may not look like they're in alphabetical order, and that's because it's by city first. Okay, and then it's going to ask us for the number of holes that we played, 18 front or back 9, what hole we started on in case we started in mid-course on our round, the course condition, we'll put in normal, and we'll keep that at practice home. So a lot of this information, like the round type, course condition, player status, and weather condition, is in there so that we can pull different statistics and we can run reports to compare the difference between things like how you perform at the course where you take most of your lessons, or if you're somewhere else, or if you're actually playing in a tournament. So you can just see the performance differences. So it only takes a second. Go ahead and fill those out. Then put in the date that you played that round on, and then what time your tee time was. So this is also for the same reason. This is going to go and allow you to compare different date ranges, but of course also different times. So you can compare how you perform in the morning compared to how you perform in the afternoon. When we have everything set up the way we want, we'll go ahead and click Add. And now we find ourselves on the scorecard view. Now this is going to be the same view that you come to if you were to go from your rounds list and select a round that you had already entered and click View Round. Brings you to the same place. So here we've got Edit Round, which allows us to change all of the information that we entered before, or if you need to remove a round for some reason, maybe it was a duplicate entry, this is where you'll find the Delete Round button as well under Edit. Also across the top, we will have access to different statistics that are specific to the round that we've entered, but I haven't entered this round yet, so there's nothing there. So let's talk about actually entering your shot data. From the scorecard view, if you click on any one of these hole numbers, it's going to open the form that allows you to enter all of the information about your round and this particular hole, including the shots, the par, the distance from the tee, the score, things like that. So it is a little bit self-explanatory. If you want to add a shot, you can come up to the Add a Shot section here and just click it. It'll add another shot in there for you. Remove shots by using any of these little minus buttons on there. There are some shots that can't be removed. For example, there's a tee shot on all par 4s and 5s that you can't remove because it has to be there, but the rest of these shots you can add them as you need them until it looks like the actual round that you played. Now, the thing about this form is that we have designed it so that it can be used entirely from the keyboard without using your mouse at all. And if you're on a mobile device, there's usually next and previous field buttons, and this should cycle through them in the same order, so it works the same way there too. So, to get you going on this thing, anytime you open up any one of these holes, it's automatically going to put the focus right here on par, and that's your starting position. So, it starts us off on par, which is a drop-down box. Now, you can change the value of a drop-down box using a keyboard. Now, this isn't specific to us. Most web browsers do this. But if you're a Safari user, there's going to be a little note that shows up right around here that you're going to want to check out, because you're going to need to change some of your preferences inside of Safari so that it acts the way that I'm about to show you. So starting from par, if you use the arrow keys, I can go and change the value. If I hit spacebar, it will select that value, and that works on any drop-down field type in the system. Also, by pushing the tab key, it moves to the next item in the list. To move backwards, if you hold down the shift key and push tab, then it goes back. So you can go forward and backward using the shift and the tab and shift tab. So to enter a round, we can start off here and we can say par 4, yes. That's the distance, that's fine. We'll go to score. We'll use the arrow keys to come down to 4, hit spacebar to select it. And then the next part that we end up at when we tab is going to be up in the add shots, and it's going to go sequentially from penalty to approach to greenside to putt. So a good way to do this is after you've made sure that the par and the distance that's entered in here is accurate, change your score, then come through and just add all of your shots at once. So if you remember that maybe on this hole there was a greenside shot, then I can tab over until I get to greenside shot and then hit the enter or return key, and that's going to go ahead and trigger that to add the shot on there. So next I can go tab to putt, and then once I'm done at the end of my add shots, next time I hit tab, it's going to take me down into the actual shots themselves. So here I find myself on tee shot. So with a driver, result was fairway. And depending on what you choose, it may make more things show up. So here I have that I landed in the semi-rough, so now it wants to know what my misdirection was. So I can select all of those. I can go ahead and just move through these, entering the information as I go. And you'll notice down at the bottom kind of how the screen seems to be flashing. Every time you change a value in any of these forms, it automatically saves it. So when it saves it, it also comes back and it's going to reload the rest of our scorecard view to reflect the changes that we have made so far. So if you lose internet access or something goes wrong, your entire round doesn't get lost. Maybe pieces of it depending on when the connection dropped out. But also if something goes wrong and there's an error, you don't lose all of your data. It just may not save the last change that you made. But you can just move through all of these different pieces, get to where you want. And then when you get done with the last putt, when you hit tab, it's going to take you to this button that's labeled next hole. And if by hitting return or clicking on it, it will cycle you to the next hole in your series. Now, if you didn't start on hole 1 and you ended up somewhere in the middle, when you get to hole 18, when you click next hole, provided you have a score, because scores of 0 will generate a warning, it will take you back to 1. So let's say we just go in here and put a 3. Now you can see it goes back to 1, so it'll just cycle around and around and around, so that no matter where you started from, you can complete all of the holes that you have in that round. One other thing to note is we've got a couple of options here on the approach shot and the greenside shot. We've got some green and regulations options. So depending on where you hit a green in regulation or missed it will depend on where you want to enter that in here. So what we're looking for on approach shot, the result is, did you hit the target you intended to? So answering no is I did not hit the target that I was intending to, which would also by default mean that it was not a green in regulation shot, even if it should have been, because you didn't hit your target, which would have been the green. So we've also got the option yes for GIR, which means this was my green in regulation shot. After this, I was on the green. But there's also the hit target not for GIR, which means I did hit what I intended to, but it wasn't for GIR, or I missed the GIR. And then there's the other options of fringe and punch out. If your green in regulation shot was actually a greenside shot, then you can just check the box or select it with the keyboard to designate that this shot was green in regulation shot. So to do that, if we were, let's say, on the yardage and we hit tab, it takes us to the green and regulations checkbox. To check and uncheck checkboxes, that can be done using the space bar, just like selecting things on a drop-down box. So with that, you can go all the way through and enter your rounds using entirely the keyboard and not having to use your mouse. And that does speed it up quite a bit once you get used to it and You know, after a hole or two, then you kind of get the flow, and it'll just get faster and faster from there. So there you go. You will end up putting in some very complete data, which will then in turn put out some very, very accurate statistics that can give you some great insight. So give it a shot. If you have any questions, feel free to let us know. There's a contact us link on the bottom of our website. So let us know if you have any comments, questions, or concerns. And other than that, good luck and happy golfing.